All right, so welcome back. Another week. We are now into week 3. So we're going to take a look and we're going to review at the last week, week 2. It was a pretty fun week for a lot of us. A couple of good matchups, a couple of really bad matchups, and a lot of disappointing losses. With that said, remember, no clicky pin. I'm Connor Joe, and we are now into hard hits. So the first matchup we're going to take a look at is probably the biggest upset of the week. We're going to take a look at El Jefe, who faced off against the Elite. The Elite was favored to really beat that ass. He was favored to win about 24 points over El Jefe. Supposed to throw a 148 burger. Put up the second to lowest scoring affair with 100.7 points. Is a really bad performance. El Jefe did take this victory on, finished it off on Monday night, and unfortunately for him, it came down to the wire. OBJ sealed the deal. He beat the Elite by 22.66 points. With that said, 123.36 to 100.7. OBJ was the leading scorer for both teams. El Jefe led the scoring for four double-digit performances. OBJ, Chubb, Cleveland, pretty much the Cleveland Browns. Those three players on that team held it all for El Jefe. It was a win that I didn't see coming. I didn't see coming at all. The Elite, it's a really disappointing performance, especially when his leading scorer, his number one pick, Michael Thomas, only 13.9 points. This is a player that's supposed to be leading the charge for the Clown League, and unfortunately, when you have Juju put up 10.9, D Moore only put 13.4, Tyrell Williams was one of his best performances, 13.1. That's not what you need. It didn't help him that Big Ben only scored 2 points. Josh Jacobs, who had a stellar week 1, 9.9 points. And then Matt Prater, -2. If we look at the kicking woes for the Elite, the first 2 weeks of the season, he's accumulated -2 points in kicking. A solid performance for El Jefe, considering that Watson only had 8.8 points. Will Fuller only had 6. Miles Sanders only had 5.2. It's a very solid win for El Jefe. And it's a very bad performance for the Elite. We'll look at the next matchup between Trash Season and Team Boo Boo. It's a matchup that Trash Season should be on his knees praying, because I don't know how he grabbed this victory. He had 112 points, was what he maxed out on Sunday Night Football, and Team Boo Boo had 83.16 points. Only needed, I believe, about 26 some odd points. He had Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson going into Sunday Night Football. Done deal, right? Well, what are the odds that both of those guys are going to get hurt in the first quarter and end up with 0.00 points? All he needed was 28.86 to be standard correctly. 28.86. And both of those two, his top 2 wide receivers on his team, end up with 0.00 points. What are the odds? And Trash Season ends up sealing a victory because of that. Because of that. Like, that is crazy. Only 112 points and grabbing the victory, like, that's wild to me, right? Chris led the way with 5 people in double digits. Josh Allen was his leading scorer, which is pretty wild too, with 21.22 points. Hawkinson, who was rumored on the trade rumor mill, flying throughout, only had 1.2 points. C-Mac had a disappointing performance on Thursday night with a 6.3 and left a touchdown on the field on that 4th down drive at the end of the game. Team Boo Boo, he had decent performances. Tom Brady with his 26.6, Gurley with his 14.2, Sony Michel 12.5, Debo. He started Debo and got 17.9 points. That is a solid start, and he should be happy with that. But, the poopers on his side, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, like, those were like, that's heartbreaking. But Jimmy Graham with 0, Nick Bosa with 0, and Adam Vinatieri with -3. It sucks. That's a shitty loss, and that's a shitty win also. You got lucky, bro. Like, between me and you got lucky. I don't know how you grabbed that victory, and I don't know how you feel happy with that victory. but you're 2-0. I will say Marquise. I have to throw it out there. Marquise Hollywood Brown had another solid performance of 10.7, and honorable mention on the bench for Juan. I don't know why he's on your bench. I don't know why you still had him, but Ryan Fitzpatrick had a whopping negative 13.84 points. That's wild. So the next matchup of the week we're going to take a look at. We had the 1-0 fourth down and bitches went up against the 0-1 Bukaki. It just was not a close matchup. Nothing was clicking on all cylinders for fourth down, but everything was clicking for Bukaki. Except on Thursday night. That's when it wasn't clicking on all cylinders. I'll tell you that, with O.J. Howard with those 0 points. But Joel took the victory, 36.16 points. It was smooth sailing for him. When we came to Monday Night Football, it was pretty much like, let's get over 100 points for fourth down. And Le'Veon Bell had a solid performance with 15.9. He did touch the ball like 30 times. But we'll take a look at Bukaki. Jackson, another solid performance by Jackson. I don't know why. I don't know how he's doing it, to be honest with you. With his 32.8 points, I still think he is overrated. And when the day he sucks, I will be the first one to tell you I told you so. But right now, he's making me look really bad. Galladay had a good 22.7 performance. Zeke is slowly getting back into, like, I'm going to fucking kill this league zone. He's at 19. Fournette, 10.7. Will Lutz had 12 points. Like, everything was fucking rolling for Bukaki. He jizzed all over fourth down's mouth. Like, right? I mean, and we look at fourth down. His leading was Eckler with 20.3. Breida was running wild against the Bengals, but could only get 13 points. It was all yardage, no touchdowns, and that's a total bummer. And we look at the poop fest. I mean, Rivers for fourth down with 9.9, Anthony Miller 0.7, and Njoku got knocked out early in the game with 0. So it wasn't a close matchup. And we look at what Joel is stashing on that bench. Like, every week he has solid performances on his bench that he could flip-flop easily. You know, Robinson at 33.2. That's wild. Andrews, who he still didn't start yet, has 21.2 points. And then Freeman with 12.7. So there's tons to be desired for him. And he's doing a solid. It's a solid rebound from his week 1 bummer against the Elite. He should be definitely happy with his performance. Fourth down, there's a lot to be desired. You're always going to hear me say that. There's a lot to be desired. And he just fell flat in space. The next matchup we'll take a look at, we look at Pop, who is just, I think he's demolishing this league one opponent by the other. And this is something that Speeding Bullet should be doing, by the way. I want that to be noted. But Pop, he's demolishing the league one by one. He went up against Raquel, who's just having a bad start. Her team's not solid. She's trying to find answers. She's trying to find those answers fast. And when you go up against Pop, you're not going to find those answers. Pop led the league in scoring this week with 162 points. Beat Raquel convincingly by 48.4 points. He had 6 people in double digits, and 4 of those people had 20-plus points. We're looking at Jones, who had a solid bounce back for Green Bay with 23. We had Matt Ryan at a solid bounce back as well with 24 points. Ridley had a 20.5. Ross with 19.2 was the solid waiver pickup. Henry with 16.3. It's just a solid beatdown, and this is considering that his number 1 pick, D-Hop, didn't score in double digits either with 6.5. So definitely there's a lot more that he could be doing. Are there any names on here that's surprising? Maybe Ridley. That's probably the only one that kind of bounces off me as like, wow. As far as Raquel, she only had 4 players in double digits, and one of those players was a defense. So, I mean, Cook led the way with 26.6 back-to-back weeks where he's been doing good. Cooks with 15.1. It's a better week for Cooks. And then Rodgers at 16.3. But it doesn't help when Ronald Jones did not get the timeshare that week with her 0.9. And then Robinson only had 6.1 after a solid week 1 performance. She's scrambling, and she's going to have to keep on scrambling. This team is not performing, and the schedule is only going to get harder. And Pop, that's the matchup you didn't want to face. And Pop had a solid performance, and Pop's going to continue to have a solid performance. I see Pop going into the championship, and especially after a performance like this, I'm surprised what he can do. Especially when you look at his bench, like he left Hardman on the bench with 14, left DJ Chark with 15, Robbie Anderson with 10. Robbie Anderson, with the fucking third string quarterback that they had he had 10 points. Like that's wild. So that's another convincing win for Pop, which, like I said, it didn't surprise me at all. The matchup that maybe Divock wants to turn this down. We look at Mike, limo riding, jet flying, son of a gun against speeding bullets. Demolished. He had the second highest point total, I believe. Demolished Divock. Beat him by 56.3 points. The bully beatdown of the week. If we take a look at it, Divock missed his projection by 44.39 points. Even if he made his projection, he still would have lost. That's how crazy of a match, a crazy of a beatdown that he had. And Mike is he's scoring points. Like, he could easily be 2-0 right now, which is pretty wild in itself. He's having a bounce back season from last year, and looking what he's doing. He drafted the MVP of fantasy football, Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes, with his 42.62 points, led the league in scoring. Wow. You know, I thought he should have been drafted in the first round. I'm surprised that he didn't. Mahomes, Julio Jones led the way as well with 26.10. He had 7. Let's stop for a second. Mike had 7 people in double digits. Mahomes with 42, Julio with 26, Kupp with 15, Fitzgerald with 12.9, White with 10.4, Barber with 15.4, and Gold with 10. You can't beat that. But let's not avoid the fact that Divock is just falling flat on his face. That's what he's doing. I mean, how can you have like 3 picks in the second or third round? Whatever the fuck. You had 1 million picks in the second and third round, and this is what your team's performing. Granted, Darius, guys, he's on the IR. Okay, but what about the other 17 picks that you had? This is what you're doing. You know, your leading scorer was Godwin with 22.10. Adams had 15.1. Thielen had 10. And then the rest of them are special teams players. Tucker with 12. Kuechly with 10. What are you doing? Granted, you did have Drew Brees, who not only hurt himself, he gave you a nice negative .48. You had D.D. Westbrook, he gave you a nice .80. You drafted Joe Mixon pretty high, got a 4.2. George Kittle had a 7.9. You're not going to beat anybody like that, let alone a team like Mike, who, not the biggest Mike fan here, but the man's been scoring points. And he's doing this even with 2 starters. Only 2 of his offensive starters didn't have double digits. One of them was Delaney Walker with 5.9. Are we surprised? And Tyler Eifert with 9.4. I don't know why he's starting 2 tight ends, by the way. And he didn't start Goodwin, where he started last week, and Goodwin had 15.2. He could have started Gore, and he would have 15.3. If he made these puzzle pieces, he could have whooped Divock's ass even more. But I digress. Divock, you got to get your shit together. If you don't get your shit together, you might be slinging a dildo in the air. You might be singing Britney Spears. You could be taking an ice bath. Or you could be spinning a sign over by Little Caesars before next year's draft. This might be an eye-opener that you need to get it together. And whoever you're facing in week 3, get it together. But the limo-riding, jet-flying son of a gun, it's not the same limo-riding, jet-flying son of a gun from the years past, or the Bunny Hives, or whatever his name is. He is the real deal. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to finish up with our matchups from last week. Then we're going to go ahead and take a look at next week's preview, and then we'll hit the power rankings to end this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in to Hard